Notice someone who just walks.
O'Reilly Factor is on tonight. Dick Cheney saying that Americans who are criticizing the administration over terrorist warnings may be unpatriotic. We'll have a report. There's some chaos inside America's intelligence agencies. We'll pinpoint it for you. Does the media knowingly distort issues like gun control and abortion? We'll take a look at that. And another charity under suspicion, this one raising money to fight AIDS. Caution, you're about to enter a no-spin zone. Factor begins in 90 seconds.
I'm Carol Iavana. President Bush is answering critics' suggestions that he may have known about terrorist plans before the attacks of September 11th. Speaking at a White House event today, Mr. Bush said he, of course, would have acted to stop the attackers if he had known about their plot.
Had I known that the enemy was going to use airplanes to kill on that fateful morning, I would have done everything in my power to protect the American people.
The president also saying that Washington is a town where second-guessing has become second nature. And in another sign of the times, the friendly skies of United may soon include stun guns in the cockpits. Pending FAA approval, the airline has trained 8,000 pilots to use the devices that immobilize attackers with 50,000-volt electric shocks. United had 2 planes hijacked on September 11th. 2 Muslim men have been charged in a bombing plot in South Florida. One is a Pakistani citizen. A federal indictment says the men surveyed targets, including a Miami power station last spring. They also tried to get military weapons to carry out their mission. We'll have more news for you at the bottom of the hour. The O'Reilly Factor is coming your way next. Vice President Cheney on the offensive. Stay with us. That's next.
Hi, I'm Bill O'Reilly. Thank you for watching us tonight. Let's stop the madness about the terror warnings. That is the subject of this evening's Talking Points memo. There is some dumb stuff going on and some serious stuff. First, the dumb stuff. A few left-wing loons are accusing the Bush administration of knowingly ignoring warnings about Osama bin Laden. This is the same kind of drivel that some right-wing nuts say about Franklin Roosevelt and the Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor. In both 9/11 and Pearl Harbor, general warnings were received by American intelligence. But presidents hear general warnings all the time and cannot possibly micromanage them. Presidents must rely on specific information in order to formulate policy in response. There are questions, however, that the Bush administration should answer. For example, on July 5th of last year, intelligence experts met at the White House to discuss a rumored terrorist action by al-Qaeda. But apparently the president didn't get briefed on that meeting until a month later. Why the delay? Warnings were issued to various agencies in July to be on the lookout for suspicious activities, but the public was not told. Why not? And why wasn't FBI and CIA information coordinated? Those are the key questions right now. There will most likely be a congressional investigation into intelligence gathering and the administration's knowledge of it in the months before 9/11. And that's a good thing, as long as the investigation is conducted by both parties and is not a finger-pointing political charade. Senator Tom Daschle should be left out of any such investigation. He has a major axe to grind and is a champion of partisan bickering. The Factor also has an axe to grind with Daschle. We called him again today for an interview. Once again, he turned us down. This is the same Daschle who criticized the Fox News channel for not giving enough access to Democrats. Believe me when I tell you, the Factor goes out of its way to get Democrats on this broadcast, but Daschle has been and remains too frightened to appear. So with all due respect, Senator, shut up. Any investigation into intelligence before 9/11 must be conducted by experienced, honest people who will put the country, not politics, first. Talking Points welcomes such a probe because it might make America safer. But Points does not believe that President Bush, or President Roosevelt for that matter, had enough information to prevent the 2 worst attacks in U.S. history, even if those presidents weren't as aggressive in intelligence matters as they should have been. Perhaps we'll be proven wrong, but that's our take right now. And that's the memo. Now for the top story tonight, Vice President Cheney issues some strong words. Speaking in New York City, Cheney had this to say about Democratic leaders suggesting the 9/11 attacks could have been prevented.
Such commentary is thoroughly irresponsible and totally unworthy of national leaders in a time of war.
Joining us now to respond is New York Congressman Anthony Weiner, a Democrat. Now, you know we try to get Democrats on it. That's Daschle. Ugh. All right. What say you?
Well, look, I thought, and many Americans thought after September 11th, this was a failure of intelligence. Now what it seems to be is a failure to act on that intelligence. We have too many agencies that are getting low-level warnings. They're not filtering their way up, like you said in your points. And at the end of the day, we need an investigation to find out who at what level knew what and knew when. You know, we heard, I think the week before last, the FBI director, Miller, came to Capitol Hill and said there were notes in an FBI agent's logbook when he interviewed Moussaoui, who said, quote, "This is the type of person that could fly something into the World Trade Center."
Yeah.
That's in August. You know, at
was in
some point,
Minneapolis.
you have to wonder about why that information isn't getting
Absolutely.
into the hands of the
I
necessary.
think every American who cares about his or her country would want an investigation to actually pinpoint the weaknesses in the system of delivering information to the president. But you, Congressman, you don't believe President Bush and Vice President Cheney knew anything concrete and covered it up.
Absolutely not.
Okay.
I think that perhaps...
Just want to get that on the record.
I think absolutely, however, you can make a pretty good argument watching this timeline. They should have. That someone's boss should have taken their notes, gotten it to their boss, and gotten it into the hands
Sure.
of
There was a breakdown in
the White
intelligence,
House.
and it was a breakdown in communication,
And
getting the intelligence.
I think so. But I think that Mr. Cheney turns up the rhetoric a bit much to say that questioning this process, having an investigation, is somehow anti-patriotic. Quite the opposite. You can imagine the families of the victims, many of them are neighbors, who are wondering, you know, if this could have been avoided if we did a better job of collecting
Sure.
intelligence.
Absolutely.
These are questions Congress has.
But here's what Cheney's getting at, and you know, I have some issues with Cheney. He's not an open government guy. I'm an open government guy. I want to know who Cheney met with in the energy talks. I like an open government, so I got some issues with the vice president. But here's what he's saying, I believe. He's saying that, look, we're trying to conduct a war right now, all right? Very serious situation, and it needs all of our attention. We can't be pecked away by political opportunists. We can't be pecked away right now. And I think he's got a point there.
Well, you know, I got to tell you, the strength of our system, the strength of our democracy is we have members of Congress, we have a balance of power, we have people that do investigations. We are not weakened as a country if we do an investigation and find out, you know what, the FBI and the CIA don't have each other's phone numbers on their speed dial.
It depends how you do it,
weakened
though.
as a country.
If you're going to subpoena Cheney and Bush and give them an
but I gotta
avalanche
say,
of paper, that's bad for the country.
In fairness, you know what makes me a little bit wary? Cheney turned up the rhetoric meter to about 10 last night in his speech, implying that somehow Democrats are being unpatriotic. I think the much better posture, I think George Bush should be giving a speech today saying, you know what, too much of this information didn't reach me in time. I want to know why.
Okay.
I, the president, want to know why.
Fair enough.
I think that would be much more helpful out of Cheney right
fair
now.
enough. Well, there's no question that the Bush administration is undergoing what they call damage control right now. There's no question about it. And but we, the people, are entitled to have our president, vice president, defense secretary, and everybody else wage this war right now.
Of course.
That's number one. Recriminations are number two. So I want the investigation, but I don't want to be intrusive into the war effort. Now, the person that I most want to talk to now, beside you, Congressman, of course, always a pleasure to see you, is Dianne Feinstein, who apparently was banging on doors last July about this very discombobulated intelligence effort. Now, I don't know why Ms. Feinstein, again, didn't bring it to the press, didn't bring it to the Factor, the LA Times, whatever. And she says now that she was very disturbed, and she went, but I think you guys have to bring it to the press if you have concerns.
Well,
you see what I mean?
Look,
it's not just Bush and Cheney. It's all the people on the Intelligence Committee, all the people on the Hill. If you have a concern, take it to us.
You know, I think that's a fair beef. But one of the things we have to realize is, frankly, in the last 24-hour news cycle, is no more than, frankly, we've been learning week by week, drip and drab, here on Fox News and elsewhere, little pieces of information that seem to be putting a puzzle together that someone should have been able to solve before September 11th. Is it members of Congress aren't bringing enough information? I'm not sure, but when the FAA is getting a call saying we have someone who wants to practice flying a 747, who just paid in cash, who's a group of Arab men who are doing the same thing.
The FBI got that call, not the FAA.
No, the FAA got the call from the flight school, who then didn't pass the information along in a timely fashion to the FBI.
I believe what happened was that they, well, all right, that's a
I mean, it's February of 2000, a Phoenix flight school reports it to the FAA.
Okay,
and that
you're
student
talking
was
about
one
the
of the
Phoenix one, I'm
pilots.
talking about the Minneapolis one. But
Right.
look, The bottom line on it is this. The CIA didn't cooperate with the FBI. The FBI was a mess. It was a total mess under Louis Freeh. Collapsed, all right? They didn't know what they were doing. Some information got through this chaos into the Feinsteins of the world, and Condoleezza Rice said she didn't know, but to other people, because they had a meeting about it on July 5th. But that information didn't get to the president.
And in fairness...
And you believe that,
And
right?
in fairness, the president did say to his advisors, I want more information how to get this guy.
As long as you believe it and don't
look,
see the conspiracy and all that BS.
But the buck does stop with the president on correcting these intelligence gathering problems.
Very good. Congressman, thanks for coming in. We appreciate it. We're
pleasure.
trying to get Senator Feinstein. We're going to be out in L.A.
And if I see Tom Daschle in the hall, I'll pass along
Can
the
you tell him to either come in here or shut up about the Fox News channel? Next on the rundown, there is no question that U.S. intelligence failed, as we just discussed, and we will pinpoint exactly how in just a few moments.
It was not my dream to realize this day. The day a father watched his daughter start at Juilliard. But I embraced that dream with unwavering attention and made it my own, because that was the dream of my client. And that's what I do at Morgan Stanley. One client at a time.
Fox Tonight. Celebrate one of America's most beloved television series when the cast of MASH reunites for the first time in 30 years.
It's an extraordinary experience to have gone through.
It's a night of emotional MASH moments.
First time my little girl called anybody daddy. It wasn't me.
And unforgettable memories.
The final episode, we had to keep reshooting it because we just couldn't stop crying.
The MASH Reunion Special, tonight on Fox.
For 9 years, they searched for the truth. Now, in a 2-hour television event.
You're on trial for your life.
The truth
I'm so scared I just got you back and I'm going to lose you again.
will finally be revealed.
This is about everything we worked for, and we're all in danger here.
David Duchovny returns for the unforgettable series finale.
You're afraid of what I know! You're afraid of the truth!
The X-Files at a special time, Sunday on Fox.
Saturday, blame is passed around. Facts are evaded. Will the truth ever come out? The 9/11 warnings. What did Bush know? A closer look on the Beltway boys. Plus, one part politics, one part PR. Carter and Cuba. Did media bias help to mix the message? That's on Fox News Watch. Stay with the #1 cable news channel. Sunday, Spacey, Hunt, De Niro, and more. The stars were out to show their support, and the Tribeca Film Festival was a hit. Fox Magazine takes you to this star-studded event to remember.
The Impact segment tonight, the Bush administration is facing a long list of questions about intelligence before 9/11. For example, in 1998, under President Clinton, a federal report warned that bin Laden terrorists might hijack a plane and use it as a weapon inside the United States. Joining us now from Washington is Fox News intelligence expert Larry Johnson, a former CIA guy and counterterrorism officer for the State Department. All right, let's for the sake of this discussion, pick it up on July 5th, the year 2001. All right?
All right.
And 10 months ago. You have a meeting at the White House. Now, when they say at the White House, that doesn't mean President Bush is at the meeting. This is a different part of the White House. And
It's over in the old executive office building.
Right, and you got to figure that some national security experts were there representing Mr. Bush. And they say, hey, we're getting dribs and drabs at Al-Qaeda, thinking about doing something here in the USA. Now, take it from there as far as your analysis is concerned.
You've got the counterterrorism subgroup, what they call the CSG, that's got representatives from State Department, DOD, FBI, CIA sitting around the table. What happens at that point, which is really troubling, is that FBI has information, or shortly comes into its possession, information from the officer in Phoenix. Now, the FBI field agents deserve a medal in this. They did the right thing.
Yes, they did.
wrote it up. They passed it forward.
That's correct.
The Washington side dropped the ball. They didn't tell CIA, so CIA is now in the dark. They don't know about this. But this is not the first time FBI did this, Bill. Go back to February 1995. Murad, a fellow implicated in the plot to blow up 11 U.S. jumbo jets, being interrogated by the Filipinos. He says at that time, we, Al-Qaeda,
have plans to attack nuclear plants and to fly a plane into CIA headquarters. That information went into FBI and was not shared with CIA. If you're trying to put the puzzle together, you've got to have all the pieces. And unfortunately, what happens here is law enforcement information is not treated the same as intelligence.
All right, now
It's
let me
kept in
stop you
different
there.
rooms.
All right, so we have no communication between the CIA and
Right.
the FBI. All right, now you're back in that meeting in July 5th. Okay, they have the meeting. They say Al Qaeda might be doing something, and alerts go out to federal agencies, the FAA, the FBI, other agencies. Alerts go out. Okay,
Right.
Something might be up, but it seems that the alert didn't go out to President Bush because he
Right.
says he got debriefed on it a month later. Is that possible?
Yeah, that's very possible because this CSG group is 2 steps removed from the president. Or you go up to a group called the deputies, and then from the deputies you go to the president. And, you know, frankly, they say the president's time is valuable. Unless we have something specific, we're not going to bother him with it. The problem here with the CSG is it is too limited a focus. It doesn't include groups like the FAA, and nobody was proactive with enough foresight. And, you know, I grant you, we've got the benefit of hindsight.
It seems to me strange that the President of the United States doesn't know that an alert's going out, there may be a terrorist action forthcoming.
Well, he knew that, Bill. He knew that there was an alert going out, but it was generic because they didn't have specifics.
All right, so he didn't get the specifics that they had at that meeting at the White House. Don't you think he should have?
Not necessarily. What he should have, and this is where the staff fell down. I think the onus on this has to hang with Condoleezza Rice, with Dick Clark, who was in charge of the CSG back then. You've got to make sure that the people who are serving the president are thinking proactively. Condoleezza Rice said something wrong yesterday. She said nobody could imagine. Wrong. Intelligence analysts, that was what they're paid to do, to imagine the unimaginable.
In 1998, a federal report warned that bin Laden might hijack a plane and dive bomb it into the Pentagon. I mean, they had that scenario already written. But again, I'm not going to make any excuses for Condoleezza Rice, but would she have seen that report? Because they weren't in power then. Would she have known that existed?
No, not necessarily. The volume of information that flows across her desk is just it's like a flood.
Right.
So I don't fault her for that. But the point, there are people down in the food chain at the CIA, at FBI headquarters and the Domestic Counterterrorism Center that should have been aware of that have an obligation and responsibility to always take the bad news upstairs. And that's where I think an investigation needs to focus on. Why do we continue to allow these 2 separate law enforcement and intelligence communities not to be in the same room and have full sharing of information?
All right. Now, when your experience at the CIA and then later at the State Department, you know, I know, and every press person in this country knows that there's almost a hatred between the 2 agencies. Why?
Well, they have different missions. It's like getting a fish and a bird to live together. They have different activities. And because the intelligence community is valued about collecting information, they don't worry about having to take a case to court. The FBI, the law enforcement guys and women, they have to collect evidence that will stand up for filing a complaint and then going and getting a conviction. It's such a complete different orientation.
Yeah, but why should they dislike each other?
Well, I think some of those walls have started to fall down, but it's not so much dislike, it's that they view each other with suspicion. They're doing different things, and that's what we have to break down, that wall.
All right, Mr. Johnson, we appreciate your expertise. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Bill.
Upcoming, does the media intentionally mislead the public on some very important issues? Ann Coulter says yes. See if we can back it up. And next, Florida foster children in danger. Will this change any minds about gay adoption? Right back.
The O'Reilly Factor is brought to you by Terminix.
So what do you think? Oh, Bill's afraid of termites. So we had the entire home made of concrete.
Comfortable? Here's a better idea. The Terminix Lifetime Protection Plan covers repairs on any new termite damage. Call 1-800-TERMINEX.
Fox Monday, an attack by a student leaves a teacher on the verge of death.
Somebody help!
Can the faculty cope?
This one is special. It always has been. I know that.
The emotional season finale.
Do you think he knew?
Boston Public. Then old friends will return.
Stranger. Georgia.
For one last surprise. A wedding.
You've got to be kidding.
Be there for the television event. The series finale of Ally McBeal. It all starts Monday on Fox.
How does Tony Roma's sound tonight? As usual, the ribs sound terrific. Tony Roma's sounds like the place to be.
KXL News Time 7:50.
Ivan Scott joins us live from the Pentagon with the latest.
15 and 45. Here's
Now,
Kevin.
Bill O'Reilly's Talking Points on KXL.
The home of the Ducks and Blazers, News Radio.
Your station for fair and balanced news. News Radio 750 KXL.
Good morning, Portland. I'm Steve Leader.
And I'm Rebecca Marshall.
Portland firefighters come to the rescue of a
pretty strong front is moving towards the Oregon
Lined
coast.
up on the Sunset heading inbound from the west side.
Today, the Fed is
likely to announce that interest rates.
Your station for fair and balanced news. News Radio 750 KXL.
How does Tony Roma's sound tonight? As usual, the ribs sound terrific. Tony Roma's sounds like the place to be.
In fact, a follow-up segment tonight, you may remember our interview with Rosie O'Donnell where she put forth her strategy for overturning the gay adoption ban in Florida. 47 states allow gays to adopt, but Utah, Mississippi, and Florida do not. The opposition is mainly from religious Americans who see homosexuality as a moral failing and object to children being placed in that kind of an environment. But has the terrible scandal in Florida Child Services Department changed any minds about gay adoption? Joining us now from Orlando, Florida, Republican State Representative Randy Ball. Now, just today have released in Palm Beach County that only 8% of the foster kids in that county were visited as they should have been by Florida State Child Services workers. 8%. You've got 40,000 kids in the system right now, Mr. Ball. And you're telling me that you still are going to hold out and say no, responsible homosexuals can't adopt and help some of these kids?
That's right. I believe we still should not put them into homosexual environments because I believe that is to put them in harm's way. And you rightly quoted that figure of 44,000 currently under supervisory care, but when you look at all that the Department of Children and Families does, not only with that 44,000, but with the 4,700 that are awaiting adoptive placement, the 2008 that were successfully placed last year, they do a bang-up job with most all of the children that they deal with.
Well, bang up, schmang up. You got 40,000 kids under state supervision in chaos in your state supervisory capacity right now. It's absolute chaos. Now, you got this Relia Wilson situation, which is horrible. Little girl's probably dead. You only got only 8% of the kids in Palm Beach County, a huge county, as you know, getting the supervision they should be getting from the state. And I just don't understand it, Mr. Ball. I know where you're coming from, and I don't sympathize with your point of view, but I understand your point of view. But look, would you acknowledge to me, sir, that there are American homosexuals who are good, law-abiding citizens? Would you acknowledge that?
Probably on the law-abiding citizens, but you'll never be able to put a child in an environment where he has a mom and dad role model that he really needs when you put him in a homosexual relationship.
But we discussed this before, and you're absolutely right. Nature dictates that the mother and father, absolutely the best way for a kid to be raised. But when you have Aurelia Wilson, and I want to focus in on this poor little 4-year-old girl,
right,
who is in the custody of a godmother who is a felon, who has failed a lie detector test. You're going to tell me, Mr. Ball, you're going to sit there and tell me that's a better situation for that little girl than two mature, responsible homosexuals who want to give this girl a home?
I think anybody that breathes would probably be a better environment than a child that, for a child in the environment where there's an abductor and possibly a murderer. But I guess the fallacy in your line of reasoning is you're suggesting that the solution to the problem of children residing in Florida foster care where endangerment is a rare exception is to put them into a homosexual household where I can prove with argument, with studies, is a endangering environment as a rule and not as an exception.
Every homosexual household is a dangerous environment for kids, in your opinion?
You don't say that every, but you can say that as a rule it's very endangering in terms of the amounts of sexual partners. It's hundreds, the propensity towards suicide, the reduced lifespan, a typical 20-year-old male, 8 to 20 years, less the propensity toward domestic violence, which is immense. 31% of lesbians.
All right, well, there's no question that, look, but
I'm
saying responsible people who have been checked out. But look, you seem to think that the foster system in Florida is okay, and my reports are that it's not, that it's far from okay.
Well, we wouldn't say that
there are a lot
it's
of problems
chaos.
there all over the state, and the supervision is awful, and at any given time, dozens of children are unaccounted for. That's what they're telling us. Is that not true?
Well, it's not true that dozens are unaccounted for unless you count the ones that run away, and you'll always have that problem in a foster care system. But when it comes to losing one, and I'm not going to make excuses for the Department of Children and Families, it is egregious what happened, but since it is an exception, you don't have to dismantle the whole department. What you need to do are some measures like we just did. We just passed the bill that says if you're going to falsify records, you're going to go to prison for 5 years.
That's
I think you're already familiar with them.
All right, let me ask you this. You're a stand-up guy, in my opinion. I don't agree with you about the gay adoption. You know that. I think that it shouldn't be the first option, but the last option, it's okay with me. I think it's better than foster care, although there are very good foster parents. I talked to one on the Radio Factor today, Buddy from Elborn, Florida. Excellent, 3 guy. And Buddy told me I have 3 foster kids, and not one state worker in Florida has come and checked on them. That's what Buddy told me, and I believe him. But aren't you just disgusted and angered about this Relia Wilson thing? Aren't you just angry about it?
I'm absolutely angry, and so is the governor, so is most of the legislature.
Well, all right.
already.
Now, if you say the governor is, then why hasn't he produced these 2 state workers who were supposed to supervise this girl? For 3 weeks, these people have been held, or wherever they are. We don't know. Nobody knows where they are. Why hasn't the governor said, look, here's where they are, here's what we're doing with them? Why the silence?
Well, right now there's a legal investigation that's pending, and you cannot just go in our society. You've got to have some kind of probable cause, and obviously he's trying to work within the limits of the law.
You, the governor, or anybody else could say, we're investigating Deborah Muskelly and Willie Harris. We're investigating these people. Here's where they are, and we'll let you know what happens. Why can't you say that?
I think that you get into real trouble when you turn over people that have not been tried and convicted yet, because the public may treat them as though they already have been. So I don't know the full details, Bill, but in general, it's a bad thing just to throw somebody to the wolves until you've had evidence brought before a jury.
All right, Mr. Ball. We appreciate you coming on very much. Thank you.
My pleasure, Bill.
Plenty more ahead as the Factor moves along this evening. A charity raising money to fight AIDS is under suspicion. Financial shenanigans, maybe. We'll have details. And Ann Coulter says that some powerful media outlets intentionally distort major issues like gun control. We hope you stay tuned for those reports.
FoxSports.com, our fantasy sports are just a little different. Introducing Reggie Jackson's Fantasy Baseball. Play a new game every day. Win big cash every day. Got it? Play every day, win every day. Only at FoxSports.com.
All right, ladies, hit the showers.
Of all the big questions, of all the mysteries, perhaps the most perplexing one is, why are we here? Every species in this world we share has an important part to play. So what is ours? Maybe it's that we're the only species with the power to protect all the species, including ourselves.
A wife is shot in the head and left to die. The shooter, her husband's teenage lover. It's a sordid tale of sex, betrayal, and attempted murder. We reveal what really set off this lethal Lolita. Plus, 10 years later, learn the surprise ending to their story. Join us for the Amy Fisher story on the next edition of Crime Wave. This weekend, the news making headlines, the issues shaping our world, the people behind the stories. For complete coverage that's fair and balanced, trust the Fox Report with Rick Fulbaum.
the Unresolved Problem segment tonight, another charity under fire. The Pallotta Teamworks Company organizes walks and bike rides for charity and gives millions to AIDS and breast cancer research. But the company is being sued by a gay group in San Francisco and others for keeping most of the money it raises. Pallotta says it's doing nothing wrong. It's a for-profit organization, but they've refused our invitation to talk about it. Joining us now from Boston is Stephen Biondelillo, the president of a company named after him that advises fundraising concerns. You know, I held off for a while doing this story. I want to be fair to this Pallotta Teamworks company, but millions of Americans are being pitched to walk for AIDS, to ride the bikes, and this is the main company that does that. So tell me about them and what the problem is.
Well, you know, first of all, Bill, there are two primary sets of issues. There's the legal issue, and then there's the issue of the optimum way for the public to support an important cause like AIDS or breast cancer. And, you know, in terms of legality, it is perfectly legal for a for-profit company to do fundraising. But where Pallotta is getting into trouble is that hundreds of the participants in his events now, as well as several of the beneficiaries, are feeling grossly misled as to where those proceeds are going, and I should say specifically the percentage of proceeds seems to be incredibly low.
All right, break it down for us. What is it?
Well, in terms of the way these events work, I mean, there are three primary areas of expense. I mean, one is the promotional expenses, things like the brochures and posters and public relations and advertising. And unfortunately, in this particular fundraising model, the promoter is way over the top. Examples of him selling his own tapes and biographies and things like that at his events, driving up the promotional
all right,
expenses.
but also, wait a minute, even in addition to that, because that's all optional, let me give the stats here. In 2000 and 2001, AIDS vaccine ride sponsored by Pallotta, and this is according to their own website, by the way, raised more than $28 million. $28 million, a lot of money, right? 30% went to the charities. Is that, I mean, 30%,
it's a problem. Bill, no question. I mean, the fact of the matter is that there are examples of Pallotta events in Wisconsin, in Texas, in Florida, and in Pennsylvania in which less than that made it to the bottom line.
So basically what we have here,
8 cents to 15 cents on the dollar.
What we have here are the people who run the Pallotta Teamworks organization. And again, you may not know the name out there, ladies and gentlemen, but if you've been pitched to walk or ride for AIDS or breast cancer, chances are the executives of this company are getting very wealthy off this. If they're keeping $20 million out of 28, that's a lot of jack.
It's, well, I mean, the truth is it's way below special event fundraising standards. I mean, there are standards set forth by the Attorneys General and the Better Business Bureau, which say, 65 cents on the dollar to the bottom line is the most appropriate amount of money.
So basically, what the San Francisco AIDS Foundation and Los Angeles Gay and Lesbian Community Center, they're the ones suing this Pallotta. They're saying it's fraud in the inducement, which means that basically Pallotta is telling Americans, hey, you go out, you raise the money for every mile you walk, people give you money, you give it to us, we give it to AIDS and breast cancer. However, they're not giving it, they're only giving 30% of it, and the lawsuits against them are saying this is fraud. Are they going to win the lawsuit, in your opinion?
Of course they're going to win the lawsuit. And, the bottom line is here, we shouldn't overstate either the size or popularity of these events or even that amount of money. I mean, the truth is that the overwhelming majority of Americans do participate in non-profit-run special event fundraisers, which are run very responsibly and which are mission-driven. Not driven by the agenda.
All right. So once again, Mr. Biondelillo, you got to know who's behind the charity and what they're going to do, because this is a huge money-making deal here. It's almost like the Jesse Jackson stuff, and people just don't know. We appreciate your point of view tonight. Thanks very much. When we come right back, Ann Coulter is mad. She says some media people are intentionally distorting some very important stories. We hope we're not on her list, but we'll find out next.
everyone, I'm Carol Iavana. Palestinians say a 16-year-old boy was shot and killed during the latest Israeli incursion into the town of Jenin in the West Bank. This as Yasser Arafat casts doubt over promised reforms that are supposed to include free elections for the Palestinian people. Mike Tobin has the latest from the region.
Yesterday, Yasser Arafat said he would hold elections within 6 months. Today, he says there are conditions to holding elections. The change came when a reporter asked him when. Arafat responded when the Israelis pull out of all Palestinian territories. The Palestinian leader wants the Israelis to eliminate the checkpoints that he says would keep election officials from moving freely between polling sites. He wants Israel to move back from all the positions it had occupied since the start of the Palestinian uprising 19 months ago. The Israelis say they will continue to encircle West Bank towns until the violence stops. Now, while Arafat is trying to get soldiers out of the West Bank, the Israeli army launched a fresh incursion into the Jenin refugee camp. The soldiers went in searching for militants who were said to have returned to the scene of the most fierce fighting of the Israeli incursion. They targeted the home of the members of Hamas, arrested a member of the Al-Aqsa Martyrs Brigades, and roughly 20 other Palestinians. Israeli troops have already pulled out of Jenin, and government spokesman said they never intended to stay. In Jerusalem, Mike Tobin, Fox News.
And the O'Reilly Factor continues after the break.
If you've had a heart attack or a stroke, the last thing you need is another one sneaking up on you. After all, you've got better things to do. I know. In my case, I had a heart attack. Then I heard about Plavix, so I asked my doctor. He told me Plavix is a prescription pill that can help protect you from a heart attack or stroke if you've recently had one, or if you have poor circulation in the legs causing pain.
Plavix is proven to help keep blood platelets from sticking together and forming clots, which helps keep your blood flowing. This can help protect you from another heart attack or stroke. If you have a medical condition that is causing bleeding, such as a stomach ulcer, you should not use Plavix. Side effects include itching, rash, diarrhea, and bruising. Additional rare but serious side effects could occur. Ask your doctor.
Taking Plavix once a day helps protect me.
Find out if Plavix can help protect you from another heart attack or stroke.
For 9 years, they searched for the truth. Now, in a 2-hour television event.
You're on trial for your life.
The truth
I'm so scared I just got you back and I'm going to lose you again.
will finally be revealed.
This is about everything we've worked for, and we're all in danger here.
David Duchovny returns for the unforgettable series finale.
You're afraid of what I know. You're afraid of the truth.
The X-Files at a special time, Sunday on Fox.
Saturday, will sweeping political reforms push Arafat out? Rick Fulbaum and Derry Alexander report. Then 9/11 warnings. Did Bush really turn a deaf ear? Tony Snow is in D.C. Plus a mystery illness and more missing Al-Qaeda leaders. A Warfront update from Todd Connor and Patty Ann Brown. It's live coverage of America at war. Saturday, watch out, dangerous sell-off, shaky portfolios, nervous investors. Is Dow 10K really okay? The business team you trust is giving you the information you need.
Thanks for staying with us. I'm Bill O'Reilly in the Personal Story segment tonight. Ann Coulter is on a mission. The commentator has a new book coming out called Slander. Should be out next month. It's already doing huge business on Amazon.com. Book says that some in the media are intentionally distorting some major issues of the day. Ms. Coulter has written about this in her columns and is here to back that outrageous statement up. Now, first of all, we're not on your list, right? The Factor?
There's no list.
Okay, but we haven't distorted anything.
I am not Joseph McCarthy.
Have we distorted anything?
I don't think I've ever written a column on Fox News.
No? Because I think we're pretty fair down the line, but if we distort, I want you to decide and tell us, okay? All right, give me some specifics of what you see as a distortion and who did it.
Well, the column I wrote this week was on the New York Times description of current scholarship on the Second Amendment, and it really is just an outright lie about where the scholarship is. First of all, they deny that there is dispute over the meaning of the Second Amendment, which is somewhat astonishing, I think, for anyone who isn't going to
know. I want to sum it up for people who didn't read the column. The column basically said that the Second Amendment, which gives you the right to bear arms, was basically put in there by the Founding Fathers so that militias could be armed.
Only militias,
yes,
correct.
State militias.
Not a personal right.
Right, because there wasn't a strong federal government, the states had to defend themselves.
Right.
But now that we do have a strong federal government, we don't need the militias.
Right.
The Times was insinuating that if the founders were around now, they would say, take that out.
Yeah,
You're saying
basically it's a dead letter.
Right, you're saying that's baloney.
Well, I'm saying something even more than that. Even if that happens to be your position, that is a minority position among legal scholars right now. What the lie is the New York Times claims that there is a bipartisan consensus for the view that the Second Amendment applies only to state militias. Not only is there not a consensus, I mean, I can't imagine anyone not realizing that a debate over the Second Amendment has been roiling the law schools for over a decade now, but in fact, the majority consensus among legal scholars is that the NRA is right, the gun nuts are right. And what's interesting about that is all of these
But how do you know that's the consensus?
Well, I'll give you some examples. One after another, these liberal law professors, such as Larry Tribe, Akhil Amar at Yale, Sanford Levinson at Texas.
This is all individual. No polls have been taken or studies done, right?
But there are only so many articles that have been written. Of about 35 articles,
right.
Only 3 came out for the New York Times position.
I just don't know if scholarship has narrowed it down to these are the ones that say this, these are the ones that say that.
Oh, sure, it has been. That's what I'm saying. Absolutely. This is the New York Times position. They may hold it very strongly, but it is absolutely a minority position. And what's striking about these law professors is, as they admit, they always come out saying, I'm going to research the Second Amendment to prove that the NRA is wrong. I will prove it once and for all that this was meant to apply only to militias. They go do the research, and they come back and say, oops, I was wrong. The NRA was right.
Well, look, where did this appear in the Times? I remember seeing it.
The lead editorial in the news report by Linda Greenhouse and on in an op-ed piece by Bob Herbert.
So it was in a news report, and we did call the Times.
And the editorial and
they don't want to talk about
the op-ed. I mean, but they just
all right, let's get another one. Let's get another one. What else is
another one from
anybody distorting an issue in the news that you have seen?
Well, the one I wrote about last week is the judges. Also, not only the New York Times, but basically, if I could just say, whatever is on the front page of the New York Times is going to lead the news on ABC, NBC, CBS, and so it's not absurd to talk about these
basically, they say, they categorize certain judges as moderates, and you say
mainstream,
they're left
centrist.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, to compare the raw numbers on the Clinton judges that got through versus the Bush judges that are being completely blocked for ideological reasons, the raw numbers don't do it justice. Clinton was nominating really crazy people. There was one judge...
In your opinion. I mean,
well, no,
I wouldn't say crazy, I'd say left-wing.
Here, let me submit this to you. One was Judge Frederica Messiah Jackson of the Common Pleas Court in Philadelphia. She was literally cursing out prosecutors from the bench, yelling at them, shut your effing mouth, and not using the word effing. She identified 2 undercover cops in front of...
And Clinton nominated her for what?
For a federal court. She was one that never got through. But that's an example of one, the Republicans were holding up.
All right. Now, I want to give you an example of something that I've seen that disturbs me, and that's the abortion issue, which is always framed by the New York Times as reproductive rights.
Right.
Okay? And I always get a kick out of that because I don't mind if you are pro-life or pro-choice. I mean, this is America. You have a right to your opinion, all right? But to put it into reproductive rights and say, okay, now if abortion, if I, Bill O'Reilly, feel abortion is wrong morally, then I'm violating somebody else's rights. That to me is way, way over the line. And they do it all the time.
No, that's right. Why not just say pro-abortion, anti-abortion?
Right. Just keep it for what it
even
is.
Forget the pro-life and pro-choice. I mean, I note there's only one choice being referred to in that.
Yeah, I mean, okay, reproductive rights, fine. Where is fetus rights?
Right.
I mean, is that we don't have them, or what is that? See, that's the kind of stuff that I believe seeps into the culture.
Right.
It seeps in. We're doing the special, O'Reilly versus Hollywood, and the thesis of the special is that there's a group think in Hollywood among actors, producers, writers. And the same message comes across time and time again. And I ask all the activists, that's one of the reasons they're going to L.A. next week, I ask them, can you name one pro-life person in Hollywood? One. Just give me one. All right? And they go, Ronald Reagan. Okay? That's how far back they got to go.
And Charlton Heston.
Right. And Charlton Heston. That's where they have to go.
No, I think the 2 issues... It seems to me that are lied about the most are abortion and guns.
And gun control. But those are the 2 hot-button things. Now, you also had this controversy this week with Daniel Pearl in a video. I think you and I disagree on that. You said it's okay for CBS to use that video. Why?
I I tend to always be in favor of there being more speech, more information. And when I say speech, I actually mean speech. Unlike the New York Times, I don't mean child pornography. But for actual speech, I am almost always inclined to say more. The one strongest argument, I think, against CBS running this, I mean, they didn't show the gruesome parts of the tape. I think it's worthwhile to see the sort of monsters we're up against. And I think the strongest argument against CBS using it is that Daniel Pearl's family was against that.
That's what I took into consideration. The story that Rather did wasn't important enough. We had heard it before many, many times. It wasn't breaking news, wasn't anything new. I thought that the humanistic aspect of the Pearl family asking Rather not to run it overrode the importance of the story because they could have done the story without it. We did it. We did the story without it.
Yeah, that could be. Sometimes a picture is worth 1,000 words, and we are up against absolute raving.
Is there one American who doesn't know that?
I think
no. No, maybe Phil Donahue.
No, Norman Mineta doesn't know
Maybe
that.
Norman Mineta and Phil. All right, Ann, slander. Did you steal that from Goldberg? Bias, slander? What are we going to get? Libel?
Picked it.
Your publisher picked it.
I like it.
Well, you're going to do very well with this book, I know. And we appreciate
Thank
you coming in. Okay. Straight ahead, NBC begged and begged and begged, but Johnny Carson would not show up at the network's anniversary special. An inside report on why he turned them down when the Factor comes back.
It's almost impossible to do, and it should have been a hell of a lot more.
Well, I was working as a waitress in a cocktail bar. And even though I knew I'd find a much better place,
The Cascadia by Waterpik. It's no ordinary shower.
KXL News Time 7:50.
Ivan Scott joins us live from the Pentagon with the latest.
15 and 45. Here's
Now,
Kevin.
Bill O'Reilly's Talking Points on KXL.
The home of the Ducks and Blazers, News Radio.
Your station for fair and balanced news. News Radio 750 KXL.
Well, Mr. Limbaugh, what has our little agitator been up to this week? Gluing Mrs. Brendel to her chair? Bringing in your sister's underpants for show and tell? Science project took out East Wing? Do you know where smart Alex like you end up?
On the radio?
Rush Limbaugh has moved to News Talk 620 KTLK. News Talk for the Great Northwest.
oh Lord, save Africa.
20 years of war has cost nearly 2 million lives in Sudan, while thousands have been sold into slavery. Hi, this is Brian Boquist, president of ICI Foundation of Oregon. We're bringing medical training and relief to this war-torn region, rebuilding shattered lives. We're asking for your help in restoring hope to Sudan. Please email us at this address for more information. When each of us does a little, miracles can happen.
The future comes down to two things: the opportunity to make a decent living and schools that give our kids the right start. That's especially true in tough times. That's why I push for job training programs to help reduce unemployment and to restore daycare for working single moms. As Democratic leader of the Education Budget Committee, I fought hardest to prioritize local school funding and to protect Head Start, so kids get to school ready to learn. Good jobs, good schools. That's where it all starts.
Good morning, Portland. I'm Steve Leader.
And I'm Rebecca Marshall.
Portland firefighters come to the rescue of a
pretty strong
front is moving towards the Oregon
Lined up
coast.
on Sunset heading inbound from the west side.
Today, the
Form
Fed is
version.
likely to announce that interest rates...
Your station for fair and balanced news. News Radio 750 KXL.
Back in the book segment tonight, Johnny Carson, one of the most successful entertainers in American history. After nearly 30 years on The Tonight Show, Mr. Carson has simply dropped out of sight. An excellent article in this month's Esquire magazine explains why. Joining us now from Chicago is the writer Bill Zemme. Carson's a notorious recluse. You were able to get access to him, hang out with him. How did you do that?
Bribery. No, I spent a lot of time getting to know and becoming friends, actually, with the people who worked in his small office that just recently closed in Santa Monica. This is Carson Productions, where they've been sort of archiving his legacy, these great infomercials you'll see late at night, the best of Carson.
So you hung out there in Santa Monica. How long did you hang out?
Oh, I just got to know him over the years, and I would go in there, and whenever I live in Chicago, so I would, when I was out there, I'd drop in the office. Occasionally, I would bump into the man himself, and he got to know who I was, and I think he learned that I was a pretty trustworthy guy with a good
How many
track
times
record.
did he turn you down for interviews before you got it?
You know what's interesting, Bill, is I didn't approach it so much. I did, obviously, in the past, try to ask him if he would do a piece with me. This time I said to him, I sent him a note in January. I said, it's 10 years. Next Wednesday is May 22nd. 10 years, and it's only going to be 10 years once. And I'm gonna write about you and your retirement because people want to know where you've been, and they miss you. He comforted a nation for 30 years, put us to bed at night, and I think now more than ever we need a little more comfort. So I thought I wanted to pay tribute to the guy. I sent him a note. I said, if you have any ground rules, let me know. But I'm going to talk to everybody you know, and I'm going to write a nice piece about you. He called me up immediately. He said, well, there's no ground rules at all. If anybody wants to take a shot at me, let him. Like, who's going to take a shot at him? And he said, if you're out here, you want to have lunch? I said, okay, there we go.
All right. Well, good.
It kind of came through the back door rather than the front
Now,
door.
one of the most interesting things I've seen in quite some time in the media is Carson's turning down NBC for their 75th anniversary special. And NBC put enormous pressure on him. Why did he turn them down?
It's funny because he's very, very close friends with the chairman of NBC, Bob Wright, who, he and his wife travel with the Wrights all the time. In fact, I think Bob Wright's probably in a boat with him right now. Bob Wright had told me, listen, Johnny Carson now has a fantastic 130-foot boat that he's floating around the Caribbean, and I believe Mr. Wright's with him. But the point is, Wright told me that I knew Johnny would be on this boat during the celebration back, May 7th? A couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
Boy, hindsight 2020, Carson looks like a genius. I don't know if you saw that train wreck.
It was not a great special. But the point of the matter is that you would think loyalty. See, if Fox, if 10 years from now Fox asked me to come back to a special, I probably will, unless they do something mean to me or something like that. But NBC treated Carson pretty well, and you would think that because NBC was responsible for his success and his wealth, and responsible in a way that they gave him a chance, certainly earned it, that he would have some loyalty and come back. But he just blew it right off.
Yeah, it wasn't really, I don't think he saw it as a matter of loyalty at all. And maybe he looked at himself as a free agent. I mean, he sold his wares to NBC.
So they're even now,
I think they're even. I mean, NBC made millions and millions and millions off of this man's legacy, in terms of night after night. That show.
I got to say, I just think the guy's a genius, and I always have. But he's not a people person.
No, he's not. He's a very shy guy. I mean, he's a very, oddly enough, you used to hear the term cool and aloof, but he's actually a very warm guy. He's just tremendously shy, and there's not much that he does. He kind of keeps to himself.
Yeah, he doesn't need a lot of people around him, right? He's happy by himself.
It's odd, for show people especially, who to walk away from spotlight and adulation from
most people never do that.
Yeah, I mean,
Jack Parr did it. Jack Parr did it,
and misses it,
Yeah,
more than Carson does.
But and then the Swedish actress, did it, but very, very few.
Very few. Cary Grant is the other one too.
Yeah, but Cary Grant, a long, long career, and Carson could have had more of a career if he wanted. Does Carson live in luxury in Malibu?
Oh, sure. He lives up on top of a mountain in Point Doom above Malibu, a beautiful house with like 4 tennis courts. But it's, I think he's got simple tastes. He's not really a showy guy. The love of his life is this new boat he just took possession of.
Yeah, and he zooms around. But what does he do all day when he's on land?
What's interesting is he closed out, for 10 years went into the office a few days a week that he kept in Santa Monica, and on Fridays he would have a regular business meeting with an accountant, which I thought was interesting, sort of the millionaire Midwesterner keeping an eye on his finances. But still in all, I think, when I hear he plays tennis, he reads, he takes his wife to the movies in the afternoon. He goes out to dinner with friends,
He just putters around then, right?
Yeah, he's just kind of content.
Now, how old is he now?
76.
76 years old. Well, Mr. Zemi, I really enjoyed reading your article, and I appreciate it.
Well, I did it for America.
All right.
I think we all needed to know how he was doing.
Thank you. Next, we'll wrap things up with the most ridiculous item of the day and some of your mail.
Now's the best time to buy a Suzuki XL7 with a powerful V6 engine. 3rd row of seats, rear air conditioning. Plus, the Suzuki XL7 received a highest overall rating of good under the conditions of a recent IIHS crash test.
Oh, A+. Plus. Who's next?
Now lease an XL7 Plus for $269 a month with 2019 to start.
Fox Monday, an attack by a student leaves his teacher on the verge of death.
Somebody help!
Can the faculty cope?
This one is special. It always has been. I know that.
The emotional season finale.
Do you think he knew?
Boston Public. Then old friends will return.
Stranger. Georgia.
For one last surprise. A wedding.
You've got to be kidding.
Be there for the television event. The series finale of Ally McBeal. It all starts Monday on Fox.
Felix, this TV remote isn't working.
That's no remote control, Oscar. It's a blood glucose meter for people with diabetes. Murray must have left it here last night after the game.
What's it do?
Murray checks his blood sugar level with this. And to stay healthy, he uses the results to adjust his medication, exercise, and even what he eats.
That reminds me of breakfast.
If you have diabetes, learn to test and control your blood sugar.
At FoxSports.com, our fantasy sports are just a little different. Introducing Reggie Jackson's Fantasy Baseball. Play a new game every day. Win big cash every day. Got it? Play every day, win every day. Only at FoxSports.com. All right, ladies, hit the showers.
Saturday, new targets, new threats, new worries. Where could they strike next? A shocking report on Warzone with Geraldo Rivera. Plus, why David Duke says don't just blame Osama, blame Israel for 9/11. And daytime diva Susan Lucci dishes the dirt on the soaps on Fox Wire with Rita Cosby. This weekend, stay with the Fox News Channel. This weekend, the 9/11 warnings. Could a search for answers turn into a political witch hunt? VP Dick Cheney reacts on Fox News Sunday with Tony Snow. Check your local listings.
Time now for the most ridiculous item of the day. The Factor takes to the highway. Next week we'll broadcast from Los Angeles. I'll be doing the Radio Factor from KABC, the TV Factor from Fox Sports, and shooting interviews for my June 7 special on the Fox network called O'Reilly versus Hollywood. You're going to love this. Anyway, your humble correspondent will be on Jay Leno's program Monday night, Politically Incorrect on Tuesday. We're sorry to see that program go. And I'll generally be running around like a ridiculous madman out there. Finally, next week is the deadline for signed books for Father's Day. I'm going to sign them all over Memorial Day, so we'll send them right out after that. If you want them, that's the deal, okay? Looking forward to going out to L.A., hide the children. And finally, tonight, the mail. Lots of folks angry about the Bush 9/11 brouhaha. Some of them are mad at me. William Adam, Western New York. O'Reilly, you blamed Bill Clinton. Nice cop-out, but it won't work. I did not blame Mr. Clinton. I said the intelligence agencies collapsed under his leadership, and they did. Jim Casey, Tucson, Arizona. O'Reilly, your arrogance is expanding rapidly. You are telling President Bush how to run the country. You used to be better. I'm the same, Mr. Casey, but I used to criticize President Clinton, and you didn't mind. But when Mr. Bush gets scrutiny, you do mind. That's the difference. Mark Barnett, Detroit. O'Reilly, you give Bush a pass on everything. He can do no wrong. And Mr. Barnett, you need to speak with Mr. Casey. Were you guys watching the same program? Lauren Patton, Pompton Lakes, New Jersey. Threats have been leveled at the U.S. for years. You can't stop terrorists without specifics, and we had weakened intelligence. Absolutely right, Lauren. Paul Staples, Kailua, Hawaii. The fault lies in Washington, where those sworn to protect me are more preoccupied with the sex lives of consenting adults. And Mr. Staples, did you ever stop to consider that if some of those consenting adults had told the truth about their shenanigans, there would have been no diversion away from protecting you? S. Lee Strang, Littleton, Colorado. Bill, how dare you suggest that our president failed to inform us about the threats to our nation? How dare I, Mr. Strang? Because it's true. Any bin Laden information should be passed on to us unless it endangers a covert mission, I should say. This isn't North Korea here. See, I get it from both sides. Everybody's mad. Charles Pluckhand, Newton, Massachusetts. My Congressman Barney Frank loses more brain cells every time he sneezes than you will ever have, O'Reilly. If you want to live in a country where the government can criticize bishops, move to China. Roz Stevens, West Palm Beach, Florida. Bill, you're right. If the Commonwealth of Massachusetts can or won't protect children, then the federal government should step in with charges of civil rights violations. Very good, Roz. About the Christian school that expelled a 5-year-old girl because her mother is a stripper. Randy Kenny, Dunbar, Pennsylvania. This mother made the best decision for her child, and no church should criticize her. Sarah Strain-Smith, Grove City, Ohio, the pastor is right. The little girl is not suffering because of an unchristian decision, but because of her mother's willful choices. Diane Neely, Groveland, Massachusetts. How can that mother expect the school to maintain biblical standards when she is going against the Bible? And Marilyn Johnson, Friendswood, Texas. Let the little children come unto me and forbid them not. Some should remind the pastor about these words from Jesus. Richard Kreitz, Reno, Nevada. Bill, the only reason you continue the Catholic Church scandal coverage is to increase ratings. Wrong, Mr. Kreitz. The reason we cover this very important story is to see justice is done. Powerful men must protect children, and when they don't, they must go. Excuses walk. How about their website? www.foxnews.com/O'Reilly. The aforementioned signed books, Factor Gear for Father's Day, my column for WorldNetDaily.com on how